Governor Fubara reaffirms commitment to peace at Thanksgiving service after emergency rule in Rivers State.
Thank you, quietly, before the Almighty, for the numerous things that He has always done, that He's still doing, that He will continue to do.
Nigeria police force arrest 6 suspects in Benue State following deadly attack on police tactical teams.
First Lady Oluremi Tinubu celebrates 65th birthday amid tributes and felicitations.
Good morning, Nigeria. Today our focus is on building and safety measures.
Business activities were Tuesday thrown into disarray on Broad Street, Lagos Island, after fire broke out at Afriland Towers, a 6-story commercial building, forcing workers, visitors and passersby to scamper for safety while others were trapped until firefighters arrived.
Now, the incident, which occurred about around 1:30 p.m., saw thick smoke billowing into the sky, causing panic among traders and commuters.
You're right, Jumai. Trending videos that surfaced online showed frightened workers attempting to escape through windows, with some seen aided by concerned onlookers via ladders, while some jumped to evade the raging flames.
And the Deputy Comptroller of Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed that the fire originated from the inverter room in the basement before smoke quickly spread to other floors and governed the entire structure.
Meanwhile, the federal government has expressed deep sadness on the tragic fire incident at the Afriland Towers in Lagos, which claimed lives while leaving scores injured.
And building safety at Ademola is an integrated approach encompassing policies, procedures, systems, and design principles to ensure a building's structural integrity.
Absolutely, Jumai. To protect people and assets, various aspects of building safety must be considered, from fire protection, smoke extraction systems, and escape route safety. It is on this note that I welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, the first the week. I am Ademola Adeoye.
And I'm Juma Yusuf. Thanks so much for joining us this beautiful Monday morning. We are reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Shortly, we'll join Comfort Ahmadu for highlights of the morning news, and much later, newspaper review. Comfort, good morning.
Good morning, Jumai and Ademola. Good morning, Nigerians. We start with River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his wife Valerie, who glorified God Almighty at the Thanksgiving service for his boundless mercy, divine guidance, and steadfast love as the governor makes his first church appearance after the lifting of emergency rule in the state.
It is important I come to this church, which is my last hope, to say thank you quietly before the Almighty for the numerous things that He has always done, that He's still doing, that He will continue to do, not just in my life or the life of my family, but for this state and for Nigeria at large.
In other news, the Nigerian police force has arrested 6 suspects in an ongoing response operation in Benue State following a deadly attack on police tactical teams by suspected armed herdsmen and local militias at the Agu Center, Katsina Ala Okum local government area. A statement from the force confirms that the attack, which occurred on Friday, 19th of September, claimed the lives of 3 police officers while 7 others remain missing. And the statement added that the Commissioner of Police, Benue State Command, CP Innocent Ifanyi, led the rescue operation to recover the missing officers and track down fleeing suspects. The arrested suspects are in police custody, and providing useful information and additional tactical assets have been deployed to the area. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kaede Egbetokun, has condemned the attack, describing it as cruel and unwarranted. President Bola Tinubu has felicitated with First Lady Oluremi Tinubu as she celebrates her 65th birthday. In a statement he personally signed, President Tinubu said he honors not only the love of his life, but also a woman whose quiet strength and enduring grace have been his steadying anchor through every season, he said. The president, from long years of struggle and political exile to leadership responsibilities, the president said, and I quote, "You have stood firmly by my side with dignity, patience, and devotion that words can scarcely express. You're more than my wife, you are my confidant, counselor, and the steady flame illuminating my path in you. Our children and grandchildren see the example of compassion and faith in you. Our nation sees the true strength of womanhood, resolute yet tender, humble yet unshakably firm. Nigerian owes you more than many will ever know. In every sacrifice you made quietly, in every burden you carried without complaint, you have served this country as surely as I have, not from the podium, but from the heart of our home." End of quote. President Tinubu appreciated God for her life, health, and unwavering love of the First Lady, saying he salutes her warmth and empathy, which continue to touch the millions of lives across Nigeria. President Tinubu wishes the First Lady many years ahead filled with joy, peace, and fulfillment. Minister of Works David Umahi has expressed worry over the deplorable condition of roads in parts of the country at an inspection tour to Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano highway projects and Abuja, Lokoja, Okene, Benin Road under construction. Umahi assured of the commitment of the current administration to reconstructing the dilapidated roads.
The president wants us to replicate what we see in the West. You see a road, you see grasses, you see trees, you see solar light, you see security cameras. I want Nigerians and our young engineers to know what we are doing. When we have buried these roads, nobody will know what we have done. When we have done milling and stabilization and using cement, nobody will know what we are doing. This is the first of its kind. People didn't know that we put cement in the making of asphalt. People don't know that we put cement in stabilizing laterite or sharp sand or stone base. So these are innovations that the administration of President Bola Tinubu has brought to bear.
1,263 mineral licenses have been revoked by the federal government due to annual service fees default. These include 584 exploration licenses, 65 mining leases, 144 quarry licenses, and 470 small-scale mining leases. Approving the revocation following the recommendation of the Mining Cadastral Office, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, said applying the law to keep speculators and unserious investors away from the mining sector would make way for diligent investors and grow the sector. And the latest revocation brings the total mineral titles revoked under the current administration to 3,794, including 619 mineral titles revoked for defaulting in paying annual service fees and 912 for dormancy last year. Those are the news highlight. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Ademola and Jume right after this commercial break.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, We Tandagi deeper. We make solutions. We ignite passion. Yeah. Ethnicity is unique. We have more than just a nation. We are Nigeria. We are Nigeria. Strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria. We are Nigeria. Together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on malaria gone.
For an exclusive 3x skin effect, try Nivea Men Deep powered by black carbon. For 48-hour deep moisture, a fresh skin feel, and a long-lasting masculine fragrance. Make an impact with Nivea Men Deep Impact Body Lotion. Try Nivea Men Deep Roll On for 72-hour antibacterial sweat protection.
The world needs moms. With a splash of golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Change no thanks into yes please. Resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty family meals is all that matters. Where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra oil, pour pure love.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish your kids. Milo 3-in-1 is such a smart choice. Milo, energy to go further.
From Nestle.
Guys, food is ready.
Suitable for jollof rice, stew, spaghetti, and yam portage. Cooked to impress.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point o.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as sure banker. Progress na small wind wey dey carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go buy ball.
Victor, even you dey use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance rice bran oil is rich in gamma oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance oil. Good food, no worries.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. It's now time for newspaper review.
Yes, our newspaper reviewer is here, Chukudi Okoli Ugbaja. Chuks, it's a new week.
It is a new week. One full of hope. A lot of it. Demo, I'm happy to be alive.
Yes.
I hope you are too.
Yes, I am.
Jumai,
The gift
people
of life.
should always give
Thanks
glory
to
to
the
God
Lord.
when they wake up alive. We are not necessarily
How's the
better than
weekend?
people who died.
How's the weekend?
It was fine. You
Beautiful
can see that
rain.
I have a robust profile, at least outwardly. Not in the pocket, though.
Okay, let's go with the papers. Let's start with some positive news. And the national economy above the masthead, Nigeria Dutch Company Inc. agreement on major solar panel factory. You find the details on page 5. And federal government rolls out $3.14 billion investment drive for agriculture. Find the details on page 4. And below the masthead, recapitalization. Nigerian banks raise 3 trillion naira from domestic investors, with riders as more banks scramble for funds. Mergers acquisition expected before deadline, and experts say recapitalization will spur risks, job losses, growth, and regional expansion. And at the bottom plate, cutting government waste, Nigeria's unfinished reform. Details on page 12 if you want to know all about that. Let me quickly go to the pilot, the Nigerian pilot, and below the masthead of the Nigerian pilot, Enugu CP orders manhunt for killers of Catholic priest. You find the details on page 8. 2 Brazil returnees excreted 116 wraps of heroin, cocaine at Lagos airport. Find the details on page 5. And the headlines: bandits kill 3 police inspectors, abduct 7. With riders, 3 police inspectors have been killed by bandits in Benue, while 7 others are missing. Attack took place at Ude and Adair communities in Guma local government area. Police say Benue CP is leading operation to rescue missing officers, arrest fleeing suspects, as IGP Betakun condemns attack, describing it as cruel and unwarranted. And the picture story you see there, it's not much information there. And gunmen abducts Governor Sule's aide in Nasarawa. That's on page 5. FG probes strange flesh-eating disease in Adamawa. Find the details on page 6. Stop giving audience to opposition governors, APC forum tells Tinubu. Details on page 12. FCT remains Ebola-free as suspected case tests negative, says Health Secretary. And ADC goes to court, knocks INEC for recognizing Mark's leadership. Find the details on page 10. And federal government revokes 1,263 mineral licenses for annual service fees default. Find the details on page 5.
Okay, I have let me start with the Daily Times newspaper. Federal government revokes 1,263 mineral licenses for defaulting annual fees. Details of that story can be found on page 2. NIMET predicts 3-day rain thunderstorms in Adamawa, Kaduna, Bauchi orders. Details of that story can be found on page 8. Abbas seeks medical trade partnership as Cuba strengthens ties with Nigeria. Details of that story can be found on page 9. Failed transactions. Banks, customers decry delay, tedious process of money reversal. Details of that story can be found on page 11. ADC faction sues INEC for recognizing Mark Aregbesola. Details of the story, it's on page 6. Now let's move on to this Nigeria newspaper, and just beside that nameplate, where federal government revokes the same 1,263 mineral licenses over service fees. Now the major headline reads: failed transactions, bank customers decry delay in money reversal. Want complaint resolved within 2 days as pressure on customer service desk blamed for ugly situation. Details of that story, it's on page 14. FCT minister allays fears of property owners in River Park Estate. Details on page 6. Frustration, despair as parents struggle to pay school fees amid sundry charges. Details of the story can be found on page 2. Chooks.
3-day thunderstorms projected for Adamawa and Co. The last rains are coming, really. Yeah, it comes with thunder. It goes with thunder.
It was heavy yesterday.
It was heavy
in Abuja.
It was heavy.
It started in the afternoon.
I planted late corn. It practically blew everything down. You know, but it's still greenish. They will produce there on the ground.
Yeah,
you know, I just pray that people planted their beans in good time, because this rain you're looking at might not go beyond October 25. You know, last year it was a very good example. Federal government revoking 1,263 mining licenses for non-payment of annual fees. You know, supervision. Some people take us for granted. Even at the payment of personal income tax level, I'm not sure we're doing so well. From January 1, all that will be a thing of the past. So let people get ready. Government revenue should not be toyed with. Actually, places like the US, UK, it is tax that drives those economies. It is not Brent oil from North Sea.
That's what
North
we're
Sea
moving
oil.
towards now.
That's where we're going.
Yeah,
it's tax that drives an economy. You know, so let them pay, particularly the solid minerals area. I went to visit them the other time. I said, look, this is your small office tucked in a corner. Belies the huge assignment you have. People don't know the huge assignment Solid Minerals has as a ministry. You know, Alake and his people. We need to give them all the support. And there's some risk involved in their work as well. Do you know that many people, especially up north, have been mining and they didn't want anything to come out, you know? And they actually accuse top people, you know, in very top agencies in this country. We need to put a stop to all that.
And foreigners too.
Foreigners as well. My dear Jumai, that foreigner not go fit come
without the
support.
Without the support.
If the Bola brother no show road, you know. So that's the point.
That is it.
We should stop them. You know,
say foreigners, they don't know anything, but
they don't.
We call
as
them,
somebody,
we
they show them path.
So,
3 inspectors killed. I hate it when I hear that policemen lose their lives. Well, they will tell you it's all in the line of duty, but every policeman wants to go and return to their family. What I keep saying is, please, when this happens, I hope that their death benefits, their allowances, and all those things that should go to their families
and insurance
come very important. Well, I think they are doing better now.
Yeah, now
I think the police are doing better now.
The 7 missing.
It's just that the thing does not come early enough. I have a nephew that was killed at his duty post in Asaba, so I know what I'm talking about. Let them please try, but can we please try and make sure that these people's lives are not put on the line too much? It's so sad to know that breadwinners just go like that.
And 7 are missing.
7 are missing.
May just pray that they will.
May the authorities, step up.
FG probes strange flesh-eating disease in Adamawa.
I heard that one, and I cringed when you read it. Flesh-eating.
Yeah.
That means that people are just going dry.
The disease often begins as a boil, later bursts, and then gradually eats away flesh sometimes damaging the bones in the affected areas.
That's strange.
That's strange.
That really is strange. So there are openings even on the body.
No name, nothing.
No wonder they said flesh eating. I wanted to say, why don't they tell us that it makes people lean? I now understand why they say flesh eating.
And up till now, nobody is sure exactly how it is transmitted. Some theories suggest insect-like water fleas or mosquitoes may inoculate individuals when they bite. And he said the patients with mild symptoms are being treated at the local health sectors.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Okay.
It's scary.
No vector is good. Whatever brings a disease is not good. But I hope it does not come when somebody who is infected touches another person. Tactile transmission, you know. They're contagious.
Especially with the flooding and all that, because
yes.
they say
maybe we need
that
the
it's
health,
found.
That's the most important thing now.
Yes, it's
to get to know how it is
create
transmitted.
awareness
so that you stem the...
They say it's found in swampy environments around stagnant riverine ecosystems.
It must have something to do with what we call...
Mycobacterium.
What we call it now.
Microbacterium, that's what they say, Microbacterium ulcerans.
Yes, you dip your feet in water, that thing bites you. I've forgotten what we call it in its local language.
I remember before when we were children, it was ringworm.
It's a kind of flea.
Yeah.
It's I thought we had gone past that era. It's really unfortunate that this is something.
New diseases keep coming out.
Nigerian banks. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say the banks. The banks.
What it does, we can never become like Bismarck Rewane or Professor Ife, but we can at least through our little economics. It means there's confidence. You're raising 3 trillion from domestic investors. That means there's confidence in the banking system. And when the recapitalization happens properly, it means that Jumai's millions are still very safe in the banks, you know.
How do you know?
I'm not going to talk about your trillions. I don't want little boys to start chasing you.
It should be billions by
But yeah, own it up, my dear.
Possess it. Of course, I'm possessing it.
But you see, the issue here is bank customers are decrying the fact that, when they don't get their money, the reverser method is so slow. It takes days.
And then they will still take money for reversal.
Yeah, I mean, it's
when we talked about supervision, actually, a good conscience does not wait to be supervised. But since we are the way we are, let them supervise.
But we are not supposed to pay for it. We are not supposed to pay for reversal.
How can banks take in humongous profits at the end of each annual each year, but do not invest enough in broadband infrastructure to make sure that everything actually happens instantly, and the reversal you're talking about is reduced to the barest minimum, because it all has to do with internet protocol, how good it is.
Thank you very much, Chooks. We've had enough of you this morning. Thank you so much.
That's not the best way to put it. You've had enough of me.
That's why they say why media must speak up against financial crimes.
Thank you, my dear. You guys have yourselves a great day.
Thank you.
We're
looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Same here.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, our conversation will kickstart. Stay with us.
TerraCube is available in beef, chicken, jollof, and crayfish flavors in 50 cubes Saver Pack and 100 cubes Super Saver Pack.
TerraCube. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer, abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point, Oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as sure banker. Progress na small small wind wey dey carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go Bible.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
No buy am! But why? No see say this big bull bag of rice no get the new big bull holographic seal? Not true!
Introducing the Big Bull Holographic Seal Tape, your favorite authentic Big Bull rice, 50 kg and 25 kg. Now with holographic seal tape. This is to ensure you get the premium product from Big Bull Rice. Do not buy if the holographic seal tape is not on the bag or is broken. Big Bull Rice. Tasty rice nourished you.
Terra Cube is available in beef, chicken, jollof, and crayfish flavors in 50 cubes Saver Pack and 100 cubes Super Saver Pack.
Terra Cube. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish your kids. Milo 3-in-1 is such a smart choice. Milo, energy to go further.
From Nestle.
Guys, food is ready!
Suitable for jollof rice, stew, spaghetti, and yam portage. Cooked to impress.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance Rice Bran Oil is rich in gamma oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil. Good food, no worries.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and our focus today is on safety in buildings, and we have a background report to push the conversation with Timothy Yusuf. Take a listen.
Building and safety measures in Nigeria have come under scrutiny following the recent fire incident at the Afriland Towers on Broad Street, Lagos. Analysts said that the incident has raised concerns about fire safety protocols in commercial buildings. Key issues raised by them are inadequate emergency exits, especially when the incident highlighted the importance of having functional emergency exits in buildings. Occupants faced challenges during evacuation, with some jumping from windows. Fire safety equipment is another concern raised, as the fire was said to have originated from the inverter room in the basement, emphasizing the need for regular maintenance and inspection of electrical equipment. Emergency preparedness is another. The response of emergency services, such as the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, was prompt, but the incident underscores the need for regular drills and training for building occupants. Experts have, however, made some recommendations that include regular fire drills, as the conduct of regular fire drills will ensure occupants are familiar with evacuation procedures. Fire safety training is another. Building code compliance and regular maintenance was also recommended. Let's now join our guest in the studio for more insights.
Yeah, thank you very much, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. We have our guest in the studio already. And just like you said, let's get their insight on the issue of building and safety measures in Nigeria. And it's unfortunate we had an incident last week. And already seated is Engineer Kashim Alif, is the former president, Nigeria Society of Engineers. Engineer Ali, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also here is Paul Abraham. He's Deputy Controller of Fire and National Public Relations Officer of the Federal Fire Service. Mr. Paul, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure to be here.
Good.
And we also have seated here in the studio Mr. Eugene Lewis Nyelong. He's the Deputy Director Operations NEMA. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. It's good to have you. And joining us, yes, from the USA via Zoom is Simon Patrick Obi, a doctoral student at Johns Hopkins University, a public health professional and safety advocate. We appreciate you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. Let's kickstart. Let's start with structural engineer now, Engineer Kashim. It's so sad that time over time we keep, having these, ugly and sad incidents that people are trapped in buildings and, there are no emergencies and the safety measures are not adequate and all that. So what is the current building safety standards should be? What do you think it's amiss here?
Thank you very much. All along there have been protection for, if every infrastructure has protection measures included in the design. For buildings, you have expectation that the structure has to be solid to the extent that it can carry the load that is going to come upon it. And it has to also be a convenient environment where human beings can live. Or if it's not human beings that you want to put there, if it's maybe a warehouse, also that the materials you are bringing in can be comfortably placed. So, a lot of things come into it. You look at the structure to avoid collapse or anything, and then be capable to hold. Then you look at electrical to provide power in a safe manner such that there's no blowout and there's no fire incident.
Okay.
You also, and then you have the mechanical. Mechanical is for the functioning of the building. That is people to be able to use the building, the toilets, facilities, the water supply, and then also it provides facilities for water that you will need in the event of an accident, an accident or fire. And that varies from building to building. For high-rise building like the type we're talking about, it should have fire hydrants around the neighborhood, and they should also have the hydrants within the building on all levels. Some, you see that they go extra mile to even put on the ceilings. You see fire hydrants on the ceiling. So in the event that a particular building, a particular floor, for instance, has an incident of fire, automatically water will be released to put the fire off on that floor, so that it doesn't go to other floors. And if it's on more floors, you engage also, and you could do that. So those are designed at the onset. When there's a failure, it's because sometimes we take things for granted. We put too many things on God.
Is it that we take things for granted, or we compromise on safety?
Sometimes it's not even compromise. It's absolute ignorance. And the belief, you see in a building, and we have some incidents, even in Abuja thank God for the effectiveness of domain control. We've had series of when a structure is to be constructed on a space of land, they give you, yes, you have ownership of 100% of that land, but they can say that you can only build within, you can only use 30% for the footprint of the building. The remaining place should be allowed. You need it because the fire side, when they come, they need to be able to maneuver. If they need to move to the back, to the side, they should be able to do that effectively without obstruction. You should have a place where people come assemble, a muster point, where people, you have a control system so that you even advise, you do safety lessons. You say, in the event of fire, this is what you will do. You on this floor, you move towards the lift area, but don't ever use the lift. You can use the staircase. Those who are strong help those who are weak. And those, so you do that. And sometimes, deliberately, you can just put the fire alarm.
Who are the people to conduct all this training? Because we hardly, find, in big high-rise buildings like that. Nobody does it.
Yeah, that is why I talked about sometimes is negligence. The truth is, when you are building such a structure, too many people are involved. You have the architect who designs the building, creates all the how it could be livable, the openings and everything. You have the structural engineer who provides the skeleton to make it stand. You have the electrical to provide power and then other aesthetics. Then you have mechanical to do or sanitary and then for safety. Now, when you have done that, standard practice, you get approval from the domain control. You get approval from fire service. So when you have finished, to say this building is safe for habitation. And fire service have a right and responsibility to also come there from time to time to come into that building and check that all those facilities are working. But you see, the public sector is heavily burdened. And even people who should see this as help, see this as a disturbance. Like if a service officer comes now, he comes to his building, say, they tell them we are here, want to do inspection. All they will do is how to dissuade him, the officer, from doing that inspection. Because they say, no, we are okay, we're in order. They will do everything to prevail on him not to do that inspection. Many people do that. So, and also, there are also officers who will go there also and not be interested. When you say it's okay, they'll go away and write a report of, or not even write a report anyway. And so those are the things. Our problem really is that there are safety measures because, like I enumerated, everybody has a responsibility. Even like in Abuja, I had the environmental who could also come to your building. They can seal a building because your activities on the ground, like some people dump all manners of things, flammable things anyhow. Somebody will buy petrol in jerry cans and drop in the back of the building or part of the building. And you have some rooms that are completely sealed and you have a flammables. There is no aeration. So those are the things that really, it's not initial concept of buildings are always good when they are designed by qualified people, but operation is where people come, take over operation in a manner that makes it look like there was no even need to design in the first instance.
Is it operation or supervision when the building is being constructed?
Let's pause here and bring in all the guests.
All right.
Let's pause here and bring in the other guests. You talked about, fire safety, and that's your forte. So what does, the Afriland Towers fire reveal about, one, structural design, and two, fire preparedness in Nigeria's high-rise buildings? High-rise buildings are coming up all over the country now. So how prepared are people when this happens? And the structural design in itself. How many times do you go to check or monitor these high-rise buildings?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. We must, as Nigerians and I believe human beings, sympathize with those who have lost their life in Afri Towers. And it's avoidable, truth be told. Our database at the Federal Fire Service has shown that more than 80% of the fire incidents we have had in this part of the globe is avoidable. And what happened in Afri Towers could have been avoided. Simply put, the issue is about, for me, the issue in Afri Towers is about preparedness. And preparedness is, what do you do when this thing happens? You know, there's prevention. From what we gathered, there were certain measures. In fact, they had a UBA appliance on ground. So to a large extent, you can say that they had put certain measures for prevention. What about preparedness? And that is why stimulation drills come into place. You know, but the issue again is how many Nigerians culturally, you know, are prepared, are equipped. You know, when you come to tell them, okay, today you're not going to do business from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. because we want to do a fire drill. You know, want to do a stimulation exercise. You know, we blow the alarm and then there's ambulance, everybody's on ground to just see how we respond. Because that response is the protocol that may be at miss in Afri Tower. You know, if they've not had that kind of drill, God knows when, sincerely. Because if they've not had that kind of drill, then you can see the fear, the shock, the anxiety, which now became, you know, the cause of what we're now getting as feedback. So from what we found out so far, whatever happened in Afri Tower started from the basement, where they had the batteries and inverter to provide alternative power and all of that. And then smoke was now towering into the buildings.
Because there was no ventilation.
Maybe not because there was no ventilation, but it's natural for smoke to move. Okay? It's natural. Once smoke is confined to a place, you will look for somewhere to move out to. So it may not be about just no ventilation. Okay? But that being said, when Federal Fire Service got the call, you know, about 13:34, that's about 34 minutes past 1, we're on ground. Exactly 7 minutes after. We deployed from Ibutimeta, we deployed from Onikom. So 2 appliances were on ground at exactly 7 minutes and was able to confine that fire to the basement. But the smoke had moved. And because people had not been going through the evacuation drills, you know, and then the anxiety that builds with it. For example, in the course of evacuation drill, they'll tell you that if you're in a building and there's smoke, you have 1 or 2 options. One of them is you can lay on the floor because the smoke will just go over and above your head. Yes. Okay? That's something that you may not know if you're not told, you have not read, and you have not met a professional. So if you see the smoke coming and you are charging at the smoke, there's going to be a challenge. Then you begin to look for how to escape. If they had also gone through those kind of drills, they can say, okay, as the smoke is coming this way, this is the muster point. This is where we all congregate before we begin to go down. You get what I'm saying? So it's about preparedness.
So who are the people in charge? Who are supposed to conduct this drill, you know, for people who, I mean, it's not, tell us.
Yes. Who are the people?
Yeah.
It's the fire service in Nigeria, whether at the federal level or at the state level or at the local government level. But we have this challenge, which engineer had, you know, touched on. A lot of times, because we don't have the power to prosecute, you know, we have an act that came into existence in 1963 that may not have put a lot of these modern and contemporary issues into consideration. Okay, that act is before there's a bill before the National Assembly, and the Controller General, the Minister, everybody is working assiduously to make sure that it becomes law. One thing that law is going to do for us when we have a modern Fire Service Act in Nigeria is that it will give us power to prosecute. Because you see, whatever we do now at the Federal Fire Service, a lot of them is persuasive. We come to speak to you on the importance of fire safety, because we seem not to be able to, with the acts that we have, we seem not to have the power to prosecute people. So when we go to public buildings and speak to them, again, because of the culture of militarization, Nigeria has been under the military for so long. So the only uniform person that is regarded is one that is carrying a gun. The fire service in Nigeria don't carry arms. Okay, so whenever we go to these people and try to talk to them, we don't get the response. And like my co-commenter said, they say, no, don't worry. God forbid, fire will not happen here. Check next door. So you keep having those kind of response. So I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's a legislation issue, and I think that with what happened in Afri Tower, there seems to be a lot of, would I say awareness? But this is reactive. On our part, we want to be proactive.
Yes.
And being proactive is that we're there to educate you, to censor you. Let's take the building that we're talking about. Afri Tower, I don't know when it was built, but I can tell you that it's a building that's maybe well over 100 years or 50 years. That building may be as old as Nigeria, because remember the old Lagos colony was in the island. So that's a very old building. Okay. That being said, when you go into modernization, we now have in Abuja, for example, development control. If you go to other states, you may have the plans, and all of that. Town planning people and all of that. How many times? We have in the Federal Fire Service the Plans and Examination Division. But how many times do we get people, bring in their documents and say, oh, we want to remodel, we want to build a building, can you look at the fire safety issues? Even when we go to meet them on the field, the only thing you hear is we have a building approval. Are you now going to stop us from building our structure when we have a building approval? If you understand the complexity.
Yeah, I do. We do understand what you're saying, because just like he said, when such a building is being erected or constructed, fire services are supposed to be part of the people that would supervise, but just like you said, the Act does not state it, right? Is that what you're saying?
The Act does not state it in explicit form.
Okay.
And because of the powers that had been subdivided.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. You want to build a high-rise building in Abuja, for example. The most important organization to get a building plan approval is development control. Okay? So the best we can do is to try and collaborate.
Do you collaborate?
Of course we do.
Okay.
We collaborate, but you see, it's not statutory.
Okay.
In a sense.
Okay, we'll get to all that later. Let's bring in Mr. Eugene into this conversation. How easy is it for you to get access on situations like this? Because we know crowd and all that blow. How easy is it to get access to the victims for NEMA?
Well, thank you very much. Before I start, I want to condole the families that have lost their life on behalf of NEMA. And again, being a coordinating agency that is mandated to coordinate disaster in all its ramifications, being man-made or natural disaster, what happened in Afri Towers was rather unfortunate. And again, let me go back to your question in terms of crowd control, accessibility of even the fire.
But I saw that there was a problem there.
Yes, accessibility of the fire service to get there, to reach at this point within the golden hour was a little bit of challenge. Crowd, people were there. There were no, I think, critical stakeholders to be able to now to cordon the place. As to get access, maybe if there are external ladders or to come down, even to help, And again, one of the evacuation plan is very important as to emergency drills. And let me go back to what engineer said. There should be frequent fire drills, and again, building codes to be adhered to, and also the smoke extractors. The fire service, the fire is one of our first respondents, which they have responded. So you find out that from the whole situation, what led to the death of the people there mostly is the smoke. There are, subsequent fire drills, sensitization to people. Once in a while, you'll be able to talk to them. You find out that some public buildings, when you get in, there are no exit routes. Even when you get in, the exit routes are even chained or locked because of, they say, okay, security check or other things come into play.
And the key cannot be found in case of emergencies like this.
So subsequently, periodically, you carry out drills, fire alarm, smoke screen, and you sensitize people in that aspect. So there should be risk analysis in the context of it, of safety buildings and safety buildings.
You said there were not enough operatives to pave way for maybe NEMA to get to the victims, some who have asthma and all that, because smoke is dangerous. I cannot stay in a room with smoke. I don't like smoke myself. So what needs to be done, in enlightening Nigerians that if things like this happen, they should be able to make way for ambulances and rescue missions to pass through?
Well, as an agency, I'll talk to in regards to my agency.
Yes.
If a distress call comes in, first of all, we activate the lead agency, whereby then our men come in terms of the coordination, whereby you bring to bear, like the civil defense, to help in coordinating and even paving ways to the scene of the incident, whereby then you have trained search and rescue officers and those that are even trained in paramedics. But before then, you need to check the risk analysis. Fire, smoke screen detectors and other things. Then you'll be able to come in, then you look at the evacuation plan. So these are supposed to be even embedded in the building codes. Okay. Yeah, which is very, very important.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to our Zoom guest now. That is Mr. Simon Patrick Obi, so that we can get your feel on what happens in other crime when we're talking about building and safety measures. Just the various challenges that have been highlighted here concerning, especially awareness and drilling and all that. Tell us about your experience in other crimes there.
Well, thank you so very much. First off, I'd like to join colleagues to, first of all, condole with the families who have lost their loved one, and we pray that God grant them eternal rest. Having said that, what happened at Afri Land Tower was absolutely preventable and avoidable. I think we need to make that clear, and Nigerians need to know that. In other crime, response times is usually less than 5 minutes. But let's not go there. Let's look at the issue critically, because we have all it takes to become like other crime. In Nigeria, we have the National Fire Safety Code 2013, which sort of reflect what the kind of strategy that other countries also have. But I think what we lack in our country, in our situation, is when it comes to the area of enforcing and adhering to what has been written. So we have good policies, but implementations is always a problem. And an implementation becomes a problem when we don't see political interest, willpower. And so, for instance, even though the fire service have some, blame on this, you won't also totally blame them because they are poorly resourced. And sometimes because they are government agencies, they won't come out to mention this. Yeah, but as an advocate for safety, we owe people responsibility to mention this. Safety everywhere is prioritized over everything. But in our country situation, we see situation where we deprioritize it. We don't consider it as something very important. And so that needs to be dealt with. It has to start from there. Safety above everything that we do. And safety has to be at the core of everything we do. But also the government need to also prioritize it by investing more in safety, ensuring that the relevant agencies have the necessary resources to carry out their responsibility. But I also want to also talk about the issue of landlord. Today in our country, we see that landlords are the most, in fact, they are one of the most powerful individuals. They wake up any day, increase the rent without making sure that the building or the facility is safe enough for those who inhabit in it. If you look at if you read the account of what happened at Afriline Tower, the emergency exit was reported to have been blocked due to the renovation activity that is ongoing. I think that is one of the um, that is one of the worst things that can happen. I don't know how to. I need to be mindful on the way I on the kind of words I use. But I think that should be investigated. Uh, at a point where a building as tall as 8-story building is being renovated, I think safety should be prioritized, and especially when from the report we've received that there's been issues of the inverter. The inverter had previous issues, and who knows? Nobody knows why it was not fixed. But the emergency exit was blocked, and I would I would say this is why the casual people would have had access points to evacuate safely. Additionally, I would like to also say that the level of, I hope you can hear me, the level of education is poor. We don't see that much education around fire safety. And that's why the issues of fire drill is not new. It's not something that is new. Fire drill ideally should be done at least twice, um, especially in high risk building. And this can only be a push, this can only be implemented or enforced, whatever you want to, however you want to put it, by the Federal Fire Service. And so Federal Fire Service has a lot of work to do in terms of public enlightenment on media. We don't see that enlightenment as robust as it should be. A lot of people on social media, even though you don't have the resources to do other form of enlightenment, but at least you can leverage social media, to raise awareness. So perhaps we want to see more of that. We need to reorient the people about fire. Fire is something that can happen. We're talking about what happened at Afrila, but we also record several fire incidents in so many instances. We see cases in market areas, in homes, and sometimes we don't get to talk about them as much as we do. So that should be, prioritized. And in terms of response time, I paid rapt attention to Mr. Paul's intervention, and he mentioned that they were there by 7 minutes. We can do more by shortening, make sure we shorten the time. I mean, the evidence base is less than 5 minutes. But in some cases, of course, 7 minutes is okay. But even if they arrive, they are also, poorly resourced. I'm not sure that the Lagos State Fire Service has a fire brigade crane, for instance, that could be used in situation of high rise building. Perhaps Mr. Paul can give us more clarification on that. But again, I think they are poorly resourced. The government needs to prioritize safety at all level. They need to prioritize safety at all level. We have the policy. We have on paper. We need to fund it. We need to invest more in fire safety, not just fire safety, but every other aspect of safety, because this drain our resources. If you kind of monetize what we have lost in terms of human capacity and other investment that has been lost, it's a lot of resources. And if you look at what we lose annually as a result of fire incidences, it's a whole lot of resources that can be pushed into development. And so there is need for government to pay prioritize fire safety. There's need for government to invest in terms of training, public enlightenment, but also enforcement. If you put out a policy without an enforcement, you are entertaining people. So there is need for that enforcement. And I don't know what the Federal Fire Service, what their law said, but if they don't have that capacity to prosecute, they need to push for that. Because if we don't enforce these laws, it is the human nature, the human beings has the tendency to not to obey protocol. So there is need to enforce those protocols. There is need to educate people and make it part of our culture. And then I'll pause here, and I hope that other people can also make their submission. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Samuel, thank you so much for your contribution. Now, you've raised a lot of pertinent questions, and now I'll throw it to the studio. You'll be able to respond to him on the crane issue. But let me return to Engineer Ali. All of you have called for reforms. So what one change would make the biggest difference if implemented immediately?
You see, we have so many things to deal with at the same time. But like he said, the fire service needs to be resourced. You see, it's not enough to get there. But when you got there, what was your capacity to deal with the situation on ground? And over the years, people have lost interest in the public sector, not the fire service. If you take, even in all spheres, when you say it's public sector, people have no such confidence. Even if they go there and they say, we have the move away, people don't move away because they think they are doing a better job than the agency that is supposed to intervene. If they are thought, they think they are doing better. Somebody, you see people asking them, come down, we'll catch you. Or well, if they have left the profession, in other climes, that will not happen. Once the agency gets into the site, everybody steps down. And they will tell you, give orders, stay where you are. They can, like he said, if you see smoke, you can say, lie down. They will trust and lie down. And then people will go there and evacuate them. But not us. So,
why not us?
Because there have been a loss of confidence in the public service, generally. If you say you want to do a road from here to, if they want to do a road from your gate to this, if Federal Minister of Works come and say they want to do now, you will not even believe them until they do it. When they do it, you'll be surprised. When these things happen in Nigeria positively, people are surprised because they have no expectation. So we need to do a reorientation. But one way, practical way of doing it is to prioritize some agencies, because it's not enough to have the infrastructure. The whole thing you are doing is about the human beings. Let there be resources so that fire service can go to a site with their full complements and capacity. Not that they will come and the water will finish. They don't even know that there's fire hydrant there, or it is there, it is not working. Let everything work. So that if they deliver, just one example, Nigerians are not very disobedient people. If it works just once, that's all. People will trust the organization. But quite often, they will not say it also, because they will not be seen to be complaining about government on national television, for instance. But if you could see that they didn't have the requisite capacity to go up there and do anything. It's people who provided ladders. And the ladders were quite short. That's why people were jumping. If there was assurance that once a ladder comes with a log boom, that it can go even up to the highest point, people will be, who wants to die? Nobody wants to just risk his life and die like that. They will wait. So we need to identify sensitive institutions in our country, things that surround safety of life. Even when we have flooding, also the same thing. Every year people are dying. When we die, we'll come and do post-mortem. These things don't cost so much. And I think it's even because it didn't cost so much that people don't buy. You know, unfortunately, people want to do big contracts that are big. The whole thing is big. You want to cut 500 billion, they are interested. So if you are bringing a bill of just maybe 100 million, they are not interested. Political leaders are not interested because it doesn't serve their interest. So we must prioritize the little things that matter.
Okay.
But can government do it alone, or do we need to outsource safety measures to the private sector?
If we find that we can no longer do, we'll outsource. But you see, everywhere in the world, some of those things are strategic and they are in the hands of government, because the government has a responsibility under the Constitution for the safety and welfare of the people. And these are core issues of the Constitution. So why outsource it to somebody who may not be able to take responsibility? Because at the end of the day, you still take responsibility. So why don't you face it squarely? Just fund the agency. You see, you talk about our fire service or talk to the military, the police, sometimes complain about them. But if you see the condition under which they work, you'll be shocked. They will send an officer, like that day, that they will call the people, the Oniko, and to go to that place. Maybe they don't even have fuel. The person there who have to use his money to buy fuel to go, because it's just irresponsible. I have to discharge this responsibility because nobody will listen to it and say there's no fuel. So there must be that deliberate government policy to say, what are the sensitive organs that we have? Security, safety, and welfare. Identify those things. There are so many little things they can give them and they'll perform optimally. But those things are not provided. The government should stop looking at big contracts. That is not, the world is not about contract. Developed world, how they started by building structures. But once they have built, they came down to management, because management is better than reconstruction.
Management is better than reconstruction. Thank you very much, Engineer Ali, for your perspective. Let's come back to the Fire Service Deputy Director, Mr. Abraham. I mean, a lot of issues have been raised. The issue about the wherewithal of the fire services and not having the capacity to contain, emergencies and all that. Okay, we just want to remind our viewers that you can comment, you can send your comments, your questions, and also take part in this conversation. The number is boldly on your screen there, so you can send text messages or you can send WhatsApp messages. Then we'll be able to read and your questions and your comments. Now, back to Mr. Abraham now. A lot of issues have been raised. One, the issue of not having the wherewithal to be able to contain, emergencies. Then also the issue of, the public orientation, awareness, perception of the, government agencies, especially, safety agencies like fire services and all that. How would you respond to issues like that? Because a lot of people don't know what to do during emergencies. And you said that you don't have the, people, the way people respond when you go to sites, are not so encouraging. So what is the way out?
Well, the way out again is for us, the bill before the National Assembly. Whatever they can do to help make that bill into law will go a long way, to reposition the Federal Fire Service and fire service in Nigeria, because, like I said earlier, we have an act that is as old as 1963. Having said that, I must say that Federal Fire Service, or fire service in Nigeria, we're not where we ought to be, truthfully so, but we're not where we used to be, okay? Over the years, we have made some movements, very important movement. We can tell you today, for example, that we're in all the states of the Federation. It wasn't like that, some 10, 15 years ago, where we were just in Lagos and Abuja. Today, we're in every state of the Federation. In fact, we're in some senatorial district. But my friend from the US talked about response time and talked about 5 minutes. That is achievable where the nearest fire station, it's some 5-6 minutes away. But where you have fire stations that are 20, 30 minutes away, there's nothing we can do. And that's why I said we're not where we ought to be, but we're not where we used to be. So there's a movement. And as to the education, fire safety or safety education in Nigeria, the Federal Fire Service is doing a lot. In fact, especially with the coming in of the new Controller General, who came into office on the 14th of August, he has brought a lot of momentum, and moral booster, to the staff, which was not the case maybe some 3-4 months ago. So you're going to see a lot of good response, as time goes on. One of the things that he has done in the just 1 month of being in office, for example, he has been able to pass on, the responsibility of no excuse. My colleague in the studio talked about maybe if we turned out from Ebute Metta or Onikon, for them to have gotten to that spot in 7 minutes was not the Federal Fire Service or the Fire Service in Nigeria that we had known. If you are listening to other interviews, you will see even when the Lagos State Fire Service arrived, they arrived 20 minutes after. We're already on ground. Do we have all the capabilities, resources, crane, and all of that? We have a hydraulic platform that can go up to 10, 12 floors there in Lagos, because we have more high-rise buildings in Lagos. Today, we don't have any in Abuja, but work is ongoing to make sure that we do that. And you agree with me, Port Harcourt will be needing one, Kano will be needing one. So yes, the resources, we need a lot of resources. That is not in doubt. But I can assure the Nigerians that this fire service, let me not say the Federal Fire Service now, the fire service in Nigeria that they had known over the years is not going to be the same, as we go into the future. Because a lot of eggheads are thinking, proactiveness, to drive the policy. And the minister has been very clear. Dr. Olubumitunji Ojo is exceptional. The way he's working in immigration, he's working in correctional, he's doing the same in the service because he's asking questions. I can tell you that nobody slept the night that the Afri Towers building happened. Nobody. The Controller General was on his feet. Every management member in the service was on their feet. The minister was awake. He was asking questions. What happened? When did you arrive? In short, I think that we got a doused tension when Mr. President commended the response time of the Federal Fire Service. Mr. President himself. That means he must have gotten intelligence reports that were there on time. But truthfully, the logistics of moving the hydraulic platform from Sulere to the place, you will agree with me, will take,
because of the traffic
situation, and then we still do not have a priority lane. People do not still give us access, even when they hear the blaring of the sirens, and all of that, But it's work in progress.
But the issue of, creating awareness, because that is very, very important. What should people do during emergencies like this? I know that it's a bit difficult reaching out, but a lot of people are creating content now. You can reach out to people while all these snippets, 2 minutes, 3 minutes on social media, so that people can read and see and begin to change their mindset, how to respond to emergencies like that. You are the public relations, person, the fire service. What are you doing in that regard? Because there is need for you to think outside the box, in this situation now.
So I can answer that very clearly.
Okay.
I came into office on the 18th of August as the National Public Relations Officer. If you track back our social media handle, Instagram, Facebook, and the rest of them, if you just track back to 14th of August till date, we have been trending. In fact, Arise TV, had to make comments on where we trend, with some of our contents. So all that is going on. I have a lineup of activity, radio stations, television stations that I'm going to go. But beyond that, we also have what we call the school outreach. We have what we call the IIE, that's Inspection, Investigation, and Enforcement Unit. Part of their responsibility, again, is campaign. And Controller General is clear. We're going to make as much campaigns as possible. And that is why, you see, there's always a good side of a bad news. Afritower incident doesn't give us joy, but it's calling Nigerians to the table. And that's why we're having this conversation. So I can assure you now that being on NTA and on Good Morning Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians across the globe are listening to this program. Why are we having this conversation today? Afritowers, So there's a good side to this bad news. And I want to believe that with the momentum, that is building up, especially under the new sheriff, I want to assure Nigerians, Then let me also say something. Because we're not looking at government doing it alone. So we're actually thinking outside the box. And in the last retreat we had under the Ministry of Interior in Zuma Resort, the minister was very clear. He said, we have a new Controller General in Federal Fire Service. Go and come up with a template. We must bring the private sector into public safety in Nigeria. Government cannot do it alone. We can't buy all the appliances you need. So we need fire marshals, we need fire wardens, we need private fire stations, we need private fire companies, just like the civil defense where they have private guard companies. We need all of these to function. And I want to tell you that management is working assiduously to achieve that. If that is done, part of the plan is for every public building, for every public space, we're going to now have professional safety officers, residents, on duty. So conventionally, if you go to a public space, banks and all of that, you're going to see armed men. Nobody is asking where the safety officer is. But under this new regime, we're now going to have safety officers in public space. Because when this thing happens, and then it's about preparedness. So they can take measures to ensure it doesn't happen. But sometimes it will happen. And if it happens, because the safety officer has been on ground, he's been having chats, he's been having conversations, we want to believe that the response, at least anxiety, fear, and all of that will be toned down.
Okay.
And that will give us good response.
Okay, Jumai.
Okay, we have some questions that came in from our guests this morning, and let me begin with Obadiah Yohana. He's a surveyor, he said, in the making. He's writing from Bauchi. He said, my question is this: why are most of the construction firms using substandard materials, mostly rods, but when it comes to inspection aspect, government agencies don't caution them, and it causes harm in building and bridges in our country today? And Captain Wale M. Buhari says, good morning, please let's find out if they have safety department that is supposed to take care of safety of lives and property in such big organizations. Primarily, this department takes care first before external support arrives. And Olufadipe from Abuja said, the media industry needs to rise and help in propagating reason for the urgent reenactment of the Fire and Rescue Act. The 1963 Act is obsolete. Please, kudos to NTA as you have started leading in this direction.
Maybe, Mr. Ije, we want to respond to some of those comments before I read out so that other people can respond.
Well, thank you very much. As I said earlier on, in bringing up the building codes, they should be able to use high-resistant materials in regards to building. And again, the emergency exits should be well illuminated in terms of this, and then evacuation drills subsequently. Then the engineer talked about muster point. Then again, we also talked about the smoke extractor, which is very important. This is one of those things that even caused the suffocation or inhaling of those that lost their lives. Some could even eventually have, they could be asthmatic. So when all these measures are put into place, it will be able to mitigate the loss. And again, interagency collaboration, working closely with the fire service and even the other people around and government agencies, like the crane that we talked about. Now, in the deployment of this, there are high construction companies that are nearby. They'll be able to now meet them now in eventuality such thing occurs. They can be able to now bring them to the scene that could go up to that, to the floor, then in terms of rescue. So that will be able to help.
You talked about interagency collaboration. How do you collaborate with agencies like fire services, because you're also part of the emergency services as well?
Well, very well. You know, by now collaborating with them, you know, you'll be able to have synergy, and eventuality such thing occurs. You know, the fire service is one of the first responders a lead agency when it comes to fire.
Fire, yeah.
So it can be able to activate other agencies like the Nigerian police, the Nigerian civil defense, even companies. They are nearby within Broad Street in Lagos, where the Afri Tower, is being situated. You understand? So by so doing now, you'll be able to mitigate. And now sensitization is very important to the people and even the staff. You know, the building housed a lot of offices, apart from the bank. You know, we have the Federal Inland Revenue Service and other things. So subsequently, you have an in-house training, you have an in-house drill that will be able to mitigate this great loss that Nigeria has suffered.
Okay. All right. So I have some of the viewers' responses here. This one says, "Good morning. I am happy we have this discussion. Safety should not be about public buildings, but also private buildings as well. First, we blame the owners of these buildings. The real blame lies on the government agencies who are entrusted with safety in buildings. Second, our response to fire and safety is very slow due to poor coordination of errors. Third, we need respected environmental laws in construction. And lastly, fire or emergencies drills are not common sight in our facilities. This we ignore with impunity." This Arabi Kende Paul is from Life Camp in Abuja. This one says, "Good morning. My name is Ibrahim Salisu, the Assistant Secretary of the Niger State Estate Agents Association. Nigerian government needs to be proactive in monitoring builders and set up a standard that nobody breaches, because people do things anyhow due to negligence, and prevention is better than cure." And lastly, this one before we go on our break, this one says, "Hello, Ademola and Jumai. We appreciate your work. We need to start teaching and training Nigerians about safety from nursery schools, and with time, safety against natural or man-made will be ingrained in their heads and minds. It will become a culture and tradition to know what to do when there are disasters. They can even save themselves before the agencies arrive."
We should go to the Zoom guest before we go on that break now. You've listened to the text messages that came in, and I want you to respond, and then I'm going to ask you another question. You talked about international standards now. Can you name one specific standard Nigeria is missing that could in any way have prevented last week's fire incident?
Thank you so much. I think one way other people, especially where in the US where I am connecting from, is the fact that safety is a shared responsibility. So, for instance, we have firefighters, volunteers in community, and so what the fire service government agency does is to come to community and train volunteer firefighters, and these firefighters could be staff of whatever organizations. You go to a public building, you train them, and then assign somebody to be responsible as a fire officer. And so so you have people in the community volunteer, you know, they're happy to do it. And what the government does is to provide the necessary resource material for fighting fire. And so it is one thing, this is one thing that can be replicated in our nation. We don't need to, I listened to Mr. Paul intervention mentioning that they need to be for fire safety officer in every building. While we are waiting on that, we could train people in different buildings, especially high-rising buildings that are considered high-risk area, or whatever you term high-risk building. I mean, people are willing to be trained for free and volunteer for this cause, and then the government can provide incentives okay, we will limit your tax for if you volunteer for so number of time, you will need to pay so X number of tax. That can be as an incentive. But also I like to highlight the fact that we need to highlight that fact, because if you look at what happened at Afriland Tour, Nigerians were gathered and willing to help. They were willing to save the lives of people. And Nigerians are very good. You don't see that in anywhere across the world. And so go out there, train these people, provide them free training, assign their leaders to be fire officers, and you would see them doing the right thing, especially when fire occurs. But while we do this, these are free resources we can leverage as we begin to push for the arts that Mr. Paul talked about. But again, I like to reemphasize that it's a shared responsibility, right? We need to make
responsibility. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick Obi. We need to just pause there so that we can go on a break. When we come back, the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
Name a problem money can solve. Poverty. What?
Health. Car. School fees.
School fees. Woohoo! Woohoo! Are you married?
Soon to marry, yes.
Where's your boo here?
No,
he's not around. She dedicated. He's not around. That's why he's always on. Name something that flies at night.
Bat, a witch.
So the witch is not there, so not be talk about. Woohoo! Wow!
We can change the narrative about Nigeria. When people talk about Nigeria, they talk negatively about it most of the times. So it's the role of the filmmakers to now bring that positive side of Nigeria for the world to understand that Nigerians are more than the negative information they used to get. And we can do that digitally, because in those days, you have to communicate or go for lectures for people to understand where you're coming from. But now you have these platforms. Everything you have can go on these platforms. People will see globally. Look at Nigeria on Netflix. It's doing really very well. When Nigerian films premiere on Netflix, you find out that they're in the top 5 or top 10 in most of the European countries, Asian countries, and all other parts of the world. So this is one of the ways through which we can be able to export that, or do that cultural exchange.
How much of being a Nigeria cultural ambassador are you? And we're all guilty of this. Most of us Nigerian filmmakers are guilty. So here we see a good number of us telling stories that are still Western culture dominated. From the naming of your characters, from the writing of your story, the characters are named English names. What happens to Yoruba names? What happens to Hausa names? What happens to Igbo names? What happens to Tiv names? What happens to our cultural epic names? Oh, they say, but they will not be able to pronounce it. Oh, leave that to them. Do we pronounce their own names? We have to be intentional about how we represent our culture, knowing now that the world is a global space and you don't need people's permission. Everything you do, directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally, you're putting the Nigerian story out there. I think we should begin to make conscious attempts at creating our own streaming platforms. So we thank God for giant streaming platforms like Prime Video. We thank God for giant streaming platforms like Netflix and the rest of them. But what happens if today or if tomorrow we come up with our own Nigerian Netflix?
Yeah, thank you for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We're still talking about building and safety measures when it comes to fire and other construction. Now, let's leave fire now. Even building, there have been cases of building collapse and other issues. It's part of safety. And then how do we begin to train, construction workers on prioritizing safety? Because most times they don't even understand when they are on site how they should behave. And besides that, the issue of substandard, materials being used in many of these, buildings is also a cause for concern. And people have raised a lot of issues on that. So what measures can be taken to prevent accidents, injuries on construction sites? How do we prioritize, safety? And how do we begin to train even construction workers on this? Engineer Ali.
Thank you very much. Construction workers, most of them are trained enough to do the right thing. But most private developers come into the business with the sole intention of making money, just money and nothing else. And it derives from our attitude. The truth about, I don't know, it's not cultural, but some people do this. If they want to sell, if they have two things they want to sell, they'll sell the one that is not good. Even another woman who wants to sell chicken, you see, sell the sick one. Try to stop any of the. Try to say you want to buy a cow from these herdsmen. They will never sell to you those ones that are agile and
healthy.
So that is derives from that. So those who do public buildings that other people will use will be more concerned about their money. And so sometimes they go into sharp practices to get more money than they should get. It's greed. I've looked at the record of all collapses in Nigeria. We have the records. And all of them have been traced to application of poor materials and poor decisions. And which we generally categorize as quackery. Even the most disastrous one that happened in Lagos, you could say that the individual, because he was so powerful, he had police protection, he could harass anybody. Officials who came to the site were driven away by a law enforcement agents. And he did what he did, and the thing collapsed. Luckily enough, he was part of the victims. I'm not my sympathy for the family, but I have no sympathy for him because he was going to kill people after all. If they didn't really collapse at that time, it would still have collapsed and killed more people. So this is really the problem. It's not that people don't know what to do, but they just deliberately do the wrong thing.
So how can citizens hold developers and regulators accountable?
So,
what's the realistic, mechanism? Because we don't believe in insurance in Nigeria. Somebody will tell you, why should I insure myself? Do I know when I'm going to die? Why should I determine, But there need to be an awareness.
Even the insurance, let me tell you what people do. People generate insurance papers in their houses and keep in the offices. They issue insurance papers that have no record anywhere except in their office. So that is not even the point is the regulators, like the Development Control, tampering authorities in all the states, have to be up their game. Because all these things we're talking about, if the due diligence had been done, we won't experience them. Of course, human activity, there could be accidents from time to time, but they'll be preventable or they'll be easily contained. Like we're talking about this building now. You went and put that fire in the basement. It could have been another thing because there are batteries. What you use for inverter are batteries. If depending on the number and the capacity, if there was an explosion, it could weaken, it could destroy the foundation of the building, and the whole building will come down. So that was a possibility, even though it didn't happen that way. So in all the cases, so people, when we do these things, regulator must be diligent. You see, there's no point of saying overlooking things. Don't overlook. The other little thing you're overlooking could be the cause of a major disaster. But this tendency to say to people to try to influence public officials, dissuade them from doing their work is in thing that we need to change. And it's not big people, it's small people that do it. The people who do it know what they are doing. We had a case here in Abuja where somebody was he wanted to build a mall. He designed it, the footprint was clear, he was given approval to go ahead, he started construction. In the course of construction, he saw that the space between the gate and the building was he said it's so big. He said it's so big, that is money that is
wasted.
wasted. So he started to increase by extending the building by about 10 meters forward. But this time, he thought he was clever. He didn't even consult the engineer that designed it. He did it himself. And that is what led to the collapse of the entire building. And what happened when this collapse happened? The guy said he was not the owner of the building. How he managed to go to CAC and remove all his documents. In the CAC, there was no record of that company again. The company name was there, but no, the director,
no
the
activities,
name, nothing. The name that was there, they said the person had died in the accident. Till today, the government had to take over that building. But you see, that was a lot of money. Only somebody who had gathered so much money would be able to lose that just to save his name. Because if he's someone who has really worked hard, he will come crying that, no, this is what happened.
It can only happen in Nigeria. In other climes, I believe,
no,
you cannot delete anything.
You cannot.
You'll be found out.
You cannot. You heard now, even recently, they are saying that there's one disputed land. They said documents are missing in CAC. So that's why, even though you are doing education, you do education in the schools and everything, until there's some sanity at the top. Because our system here is such that you have to have the person at the top to have an initiative. This Minister of Internal Affairs, of course, he's the star of this administration in terms of intellectual application of knowledge to doing his work. So that's why we're seeing the level of, commendation is getting from the PRO. But there are many other people who are not so interested in such. They don't even want you to come and make presentation on that burden on intellectualism. They want to just come with the pedestrian things that needs the approval, and the money is big, and that's all. But if the money is not big again, they'll keep the file away. You know, there's a case of, you say something is going to happen. We need just 20 million. If not, this will happen. And the person what is saying, you just throw it away without even reading to look at the content of that. And something will happen because you didn't give the 20 million, you will lose 500 billion.
Yeah.
So this is what we are saying. There should be a step taken in most public buildings. I have gone to an office one time in Lagos, the same Lagos. When I came in, I was a bit too early, and they said they were praying. They should convert that prayer time. They could pray, but split the prayer time into two. You use one for prayer, use one for safety brief. In the NSC system, we don't have any meeting without safety brief. We can have safety engineers who will come. There must be a brief. Even if you are coming to this facility, they will brief. This is the toilet. This is the exit in case of emergency. This is what you do. We'll do it in our auditorium before we do any meeting in NSC.
Okay.
Because safety engineer you must do it. So we should take that as a policy.
Maybe that's
tradition.
Policy,
every public institution, every private organization, every building where many people, maybe more than maybe 20 people are going to gather, do a safety brief. Show them the risk.
Okay, Engineer Ali, this question or comment actually is for you. It's talking about building and safety measures. There are safety measures relating to buildings should start from the foundation laying and the quality and suitability of the materials used. It is marvelous to see 3 mm rods being used to erect a 2 to 3 story building, and the person that calls oneself engineer appears comfortable with it. And what is worse is a situation where some engineers from the relevant government departments visit the site only to make money. In this regard, I suggest that government should strive to bring down the prices of building materials so as to enable most people to buy quality and suitable building. Is it about the cost of building materials, or because people are not just, just don't want to do the right thing.
You see, there's what we call trade secret. Like if you go to, which is what people are familiar with, you go to the hospital, you say you have cough or something. Your friend who went with you say he has cough. They may not give you, the doctor will examine you and interview you, and what you give will be different from what you give to his, because what works for you. Look, God in his infinite mercy created the world in a very, very complex manner. The soil in this place could be different from the soil in this place within the same premises. So an engineer who wants to do his foundation will first of all take out some of the materials up to a level, examine them, and on the basis of that, design the foundation. So a foundation that you think, so what you design here will be different from what you design there, because the characteristics are different.
Okay, engineer.
So he takes responsibility.
Yeah, he takes responsibility. We are running out of time now. We're beginning to round up, and I have some questions that came in, and he said, good morning, I'm Isa Ojunuba Suleiman from Jabi, Abuja. My comment is on the fire service personnel. You don't need to be armed to get a job done. You don't even need talking to the tenants. All you do is talk to either the landlord or the estate management. Let them convey the message to their occupants. And if developers are only interested in FCDA and town planners, get your personnel to FCDA's office. They have a branch there. I've seen VIO and road safety doing it, and it's working perfectly. Another one from Lagos, Ben, said, good morning, Nigeria. The PR has a lot of good initiatives, but I pray this is not mere academic expression. Fire service hasn't been doing well in Nigeria. And Brass from Bayelsa State said, what do we do when there is a fire outbreak around the environment and you don't have fire extinguisher or the fire service commission in your community? It's all about political will. And you know, in Nigeria, most of the time, implementation usually dilly-dallies, but implementation is key in this aspect. So what lessons are we taking from what happened in Lagos?
Mr. Abraham, before you answer that, let me just read this because it's to you. It said, I think the fire service should link up with NGOs and other government bodies to create a form of outreach, not just for training only, but also giving a freebies like fire extinguishers, etc. to LCDA and other local communities, which are BEATS parts of local government council. This include traditional rural community ESCOs, engaging the communities about fire and how to tackle emergencies on meeting days. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
In 2 minutes, actually.
Yes. Are we doing all of this?
Go ahead.
The answer is yes. You know, we're doing all of this. And so in the days ahead, more of it is going to be seen. As to the man from Bayelsa, or Brass, who is saying, what do we do when we don't have extinguishers? I mean, the responsibility to get a simple extinguisher.
Or the fire, you said, or the fire service in your community.
Yes,
you don't have
like I said earlier, we're not everywhere. We're not in 774 local governments. But we hope that with the new autonomy that's been granted local government, this is an area they should look at. Okay, fire service in Nigeria is both at the federal, at the state, and at the local government level. In fact, it's at the private sector level. Okay, so private individuals with estates or group of estates can come together, you know, approach the fire service, and they can establish a fire post, you know, that is available for them for the takes. Federal Fire Service can deploy her personnel to such fire posts, okay? So we can do that in one breath. At the other breath, on the issues of extinguisher, every Nigerian, if you have a car, you have a shop, you have a house, at least you should have an extinguisher. And not just have an extinguisher, you should know how to use an extinguisher.
Okay, you gave a number.
Yes.
Can you call the number out so that it can be displayed on the screen?
Okay, that's the control room number of the Federal Fire Service. The number is 080-3200-3557.
Okay.
Again, 080-3200-3557. With that number, you can actually call from any part of Nigeria, and we'll deploy the nearest fire station to you in case of fire or any other emergency.
Okay, Mr. You also gave a number.
Okay, Mr. Engineer.
I also gave a number. That is our NEMA contact center. You can call at any point in time. We run shift. We run 24-hour shift. They can pick up your calls and direct your emergency to any zone or any state. But again, there are wolf cries. Wolf cries in the sense that there are some calls that you find out are not real, are not for real. So if you are calling, make sure that it's an emergency, whereby we want now to be able to now deploy or direct the calls to any of the lead agencies to be able to now respond to the emergency.
Can you call the numbers?
Yes, I think it's going to be displayed on the screen, but I have it here. 080 22 55 6362. That is one. Then 090 74 37 3708. That's the NEMA contact center. At any point in time, you can put a distress call, but I also emphasize that it should be an emergency, because sometimes we have calls that are wolf cry that are not for real. Okay. You'll be able to tell the location and the type of disaster so that we're able to now challenge it. And we also have our hydro radio that will work round the clock with all our zone and territorial offices that will respond to disasters. With other stakeholders, we are coordinating agency, not first responders.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to our Zoom guest as we begin to round up this conversation this morning. Mr. Patrick Obi, what role do you think technology can play, especially in enhancing building safety and emergency responses?
Well, I think technology has a very big role to play. And let's start from what has just happened. We hear a situation where Federal Fire Service call out a long number, right? And then the same thing with NEMA. I would advocate that NEMA and the Federal Fire Service should integrate themselves with the national emergency line of 112, like we have in other climes. In the US, we have the 911. So 112 integrates, all the agencies should integrate themselves. Everyone, you can easily remember 112. And once you hear of any emergency, and you can just pick your call and call that toll-free line. So the issue of calling long number, I don't think it would help anybody. I don't think it's sustainable, and it is not an evidence-based practice. That's for one. Then as I round up my intervention, I would like to mention that the federal government need to prioritize safety because we're losing a lot. And for the federal the Federal Fire Service, education without enforcement is entertainment. And so we need to educate people, but we also need to enforce those practices. And then again, safety is a shared responsibility. You need to work with community. You need to work with non-governmental organizations. They can help you push forward your agenda. That is the standard practice here in the US. They can help you push your agenda at the National Assembly, at the local level, at the community level, and at the end of the day, you would achieve your mandate and your result. Thank you.
Mr. Patrick Obi, for your contribution on today's discussion. Thank you so much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's have your parting shot in 30 seconds, Engineer Ali.
Safety is a responsibility of everybody, and we must do everything to make it happen. The fire service is an institution of government, but it's a public service institution that all have responsibility to contribute to their success. So we should do that. But so even government is not doing its best, we as citizens have responsibilities, because we have shown that we can do things on our own in this country. The individuals do a lot more than government does for them.
Okay, Mr. Paul, what message do you have for Nigerians, your final words?
Yeah, my final words for Nigerians is that they should have confidence in the Federal Fire Service. We have a new Controller General who is very proactive, who is an egghead, and who is working, seamlessly with the minister to ensure that Nigerians and lives and property in Nigeria are saved, Okay. And going forward, they should just see what the Federal Fire Service will be doing.
Okay. Mr. Paul Abraham, Deputy Controller of Fire and National Public Relations Officer of the Federal Fire Service. Thank you so much for coming. And also Mr. Eugene Lewis Inyalong, Deputy Director Operations NEMA. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And joining us from the U.S. is Simon Patrick Obi, a doctoral student at Johns Hopkins University, a public health professional and safety advocate. Thank you so much for your time. And Engineer Kashim Ali, former President, Nigeria Society of Engineers, as always. It's a pleasure having you.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Jumai Yusuf.
And I'm Ademola. Do join us again tomorrow for another package.